Game 1, reminder, this is the best of 3 between Supernova and AOE Randoms. I would consider this a must-win for either team if they want to have a shot going into playoffs. AOE main, while they did take a series loss to AOE Randoms in the quarterfinals of Cup, still are a very formidable team. Wouldn't be surprised to see either of these squads drop a series to them. So getting that first 1-0 in day 1 is extra crucial. We're going to see Diana, Thresh, Akali, and Gwen all taken off the table as we are starting to see how these team compositions are starting to line up.
And AOE, I think, are the first team here to have my read on the meta. With Akali and Gwen straight up banned on this red side, I love to see this come out immediately. They're also taking themselves, hopefully with this Lulu ban here, a little bit of a target ban down toward Chow on the bot side, or rather denying that sort of support lane pickup that we've seen Chow take so frequently. Now we've got the Viego first pick here. You touched on this before we got into the draft here, Grapes, that Supernova are just big Viego stands.
Yeah, exactly. Going onto this blue side, you have a lot of power picks that AoE randoms were forced to ban away. Things like the Akali, things like the Gwen. Sure, the Lulu might not necessarily be considered on that same tier, but given the champions that Chow has been bringing out in these open qualifiers, definitely a worthy ban for themselves, which makes Supernova able to pick up that Viego with that B1 pick. AoE randoms are going to respond with Ezreal, Jhin Zhao, two very strong champions of their own. But now with this Karma lock-in, opens up a lot of flexibility. Viego can go top or mid, even jungle potentially. Karma can flex to essentially 5 roles. And this is a bit of a deviation than what we've normally seen of Supernova being a little bit more flexible in their draft.
And obviously, with that Lulu taken away, it wouldn't surprise me at all to see the bot lane or the bot support pick up Karma here for Supernova, because it fits exactly into the same wheelhouse as the Lulu. Fits a very similar brief here. The Lee Sin coming through as well, something that we've seen a lot of here for Supernova. They've been very happy to try and take that Lee Sin for themselves, and this game going to be absolutely no exception. It's also a really decent denial pick as well. You know, just taking that away from the red side, definitely worthwhile in pretty much every instance.
Yep, and that Lee Sin coming in still allows a bunch of flexibility. Strumpus and Cozy both have experience on the Viego and on the Lee Sin, so having both of these picks available, definitely an interesting situation for them. Going to pick the matchup that they want, and they're going to know one of those matchups already because Chim is going to grab this Wukong on the R3, sending that up to the top side as we head into the second phase of bans.
Yeah, with no Senna picked by AoE randoms, we know that there's no spicy Senna bot lane or Senna Wukong bot lane coming through. Expecting to see that Wukong up in the top lane. There's a very small possibility we see it flex into the mid lane, but I do doubt it. Real possibility that Supernova take that Lee Sin themselves into the mid lane, but just looking at previous matches and how much Supernova have drafted Lee Sin for Cozy up on the top side, I expect it to go back up there. I expect it to stay firmly in his hands. He's had a lot of time with the Lee Sin here, so keeping that one very much inside the wheelhouse of that top lane is as I would anticipate here.
Heading into the second phase of bans, Rai's going to be taken off the table. Obviously, the signature pick of Strumpus, and while people might be a bit confused of why the Jace is being banned away while the Wukong has already been picked up, have to remember that this is Leo 99 that you're playing against. A player that loves this Jace, is willing to pick it in so many different situations, and with that and the Nocturne taken off the table, those are two of Leo's most played champions, and so I'm going to have to go on to something else for this game 1. Varus also going to be taken off the table as Supernova have not selected a marksman yet.
Yeah, keeping that bot lane pick a little bit more reserved, and that sort of fits into that philosophy of, okay, let's try and keep the Karma bot lane, and let's try and keep the AD carry a little bit more hidden, keep that hyper carry till we know exactly what we want to be playing off against here. And in this instance, right, when there's so much dive already with the Xin Zhao, with the Wukong, you might well see something that is fairly disengage oriented. Things like the Xayah come to mind here as something that you could well take. But now they've locked in this Azir here, AoE randoms have got themselves a very nice mix of not just dive access with the Xin Zhao and the Wukong, but really decent long range damage. Azir versus Azir and the Ezreal, both going to be able to be poking out your carries, poking out your tanks, hitting on those objective fights really hard here, which will then enable for Xin Zhao, enable the Wukong to find that engage after that chip damage has already been done.
Yeah, no, this is really interesting. When you think of Leo in the past few games that he's played in the past few series, it's been almost entirely AD bruisers or marksmen. But now that you have 3 AD already picked up for randoms, Leo's going to have to shift towards something else. But instead of going for something like the Victor, Silas, or Karma that he's been so familiar with, going to go towards a different pick like Azir, a champion that we haven't seen that much in the meta. And speaking of champions we haven't seen that much in the meta, this is Maddie's Lilia, a champion that he has also brought out a couple of times in the open qualifier, despite it not being considered one of the most strong picks in this game right now. And Aphelios is going to be the final pick for Supernova as Pacus gets last pick on the other side.
Yeah, so the Aphelios Karma, the second best, I suppose, for as opposed to the Aphelios Lulu, which we did see sort of tear up the meta a couple patches ago here at the start of the season. So hopefully Supernova are able to pilot this Aphelios Karma down on the bot side, presuming, of course, that this Nautilus gets locked in or something along the same lines is picked up for the AOE randoms. It is indeed the Nautilus fully locked on through. You could very well see a little bit of laning troubles, but honestly, with the Ezreal picked up down on that bot lane, I'm not expecting this lane to be particularly aggressive here. There's still a lot of damage that the Ezreal is waiting to pick up, waiting to scale up with before he's able to really go toe to toe with the Aphelios down on that bot side. So with this Karma as well, hoping to be a bit of a lane bully up against the Nautilus, definitely anticipate Supernova to have the better of the bot lane. You talked a little bit about this Lilia pick as well, and I'll touch on it as well. We've got Lilia, and as a champion functions really well into melee champions. Obviously Lilia herself, outside of that bowling ball, fairly short ranged, but with all of the movement speed, with all of the kiting that she is able to do, it is very easy for her to kite out these Xin Zhao types, Wukong types, the melee champions of AoE randoms, and that is not without her backline access as well. If we see one of those bowling balls come through, manage to land onto Short Hop, manage to land onto Leo, there's a very real possibility that AoE randoms could find themselves in a real difficult position here, with a lot of sleep potential, pretty much being the only CC setup that Supernova have got.
Yeah, and it's a lot of disengage, I think, for Supernova. You have things like the Karma with the Mantra E. Lilia can play on multiple fronts with that sleep, but you also have this Aphelios. So just a lot of different possibilities for Supernova to go around. We aren't entirely sure of which of one of these Viego, Lee Sin, Bruisers are going into each solo lane. As you said, Rude, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Lee Sin go towards Cozy, the Viego go towards Strumpus, just considering the amount of games that Lee Sin has been played by Cozy, and we are getting word from our producer that it is going to be Lee Sin in the top side for Cozy, going to go up against Chim's Wukong. But at the end of the day, looking at the team compositions, I think Randoms and Supernova both got a lot of what they wanted. You have this Ezreal Nautilus bot lane for Randoms that Pacus and Short Hop played so very well in that crucial Game 4 against the AoE main squad to send them into the semifinals. And on the other side of the map, Wukong, Xin Zhao, and Azir are all very strong picks on as well.
Yeah, and I'm a particular fan of Short Hop's Ezreal as well, seen this one perform a fair few times in Challengers Uprising, so getting that one back in his hands is definitely something that I am anticipating will go well for AoE randoms if they're able to break their way out of those early stages. And you know, that flexibility that we saw Supernova maybe a little bit limited in the open qualifiers in the Challengers Uprising scene itself, now proving to us that it is no longer the case here, that Supernova have got the flexibility open and available to them. If they want to take some of these champions around and flex them around the map, they have that capability. Not only does that give us a good promising show for game number 1, but does the exact same for game number 2 and game number 3 potentially as well, where we're gonna have these big spicy drafts where we don't know where things are going until we see it locked on in. And until we find out, you know, unless there's some really not very flexible pick, which just isn't the meta right now, Supernova have definitely shown that they can adapt to this one and adapt to this flex meta.
Well, we'll see if the flexibility works out for them in this game 1. We're going to take a short break, but when we return, it's going to be Supernova versus AoE randoms in this game 1. The team compositions have been lined up. Let's see who gets knocked down first after this. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Challenges Up. Sorry, not Challenges Uprising. We're already past that. It's Risen, the Champions League day one of this group stage. Supernova's on your blue side, and we got AOE randoms on your red side, Rooted. This is a banger. I'm excited for this one. I really like the team compositions that both of these teams set up, and both of these teams definitely want some revenge, I guess to say, or just securing their dominance over the other.
Yeah, and honestly, this is a bit of a grudge match for these two teams. Obviously, AOE coming out on top of it in Challenges Uprising, they were able to secure themselves that playoff spot and, subsequently automatic access to this group stage here in Risen. So for Supernova, it's a bit of an answer here, a bit of a chance for them to show that maybe that was a bit of a fluke in the Challenges Uprising, or maybe just that Supernova have improved since then and that they've learned a lot from previous mistakes, that they are now able to come away with a victory for themselves. So again, looking at both of these teams to show us what they have got here, because there's a very real possibility that we get ourselves not just one but potentially up to 3 Bango games here tonight. And honestly, I believe in this group in particular we are going to have a lot of teams that are all very much of similar level, and any team can take a game off of anyone. So you need to keep your eyes on these, because it's not just every series matters, it's every game matters as well, because when it comes down to it, there's a very real chance that it's tiebreakers that decide it here. We could very easily see 2-3 teams even on that same scoreline and really put into a bad spot in terms of who's going to come out on top of it. And it might well come down to, okay, well, we beat a team 2-0 as opposed to a team that beat them 2-1. So we're looking at it from that perspective. Every single game really will matter, and definitely going to be a case of first come, first serve to the wins.
Yeah, and even though a lot of the talk is about Supernova trying to prove themselves again, trying to see if they've grown as a team, AOE Randoms definitely wants to be in that spot as well. A lot of people are kind of considering their semifinals run to be a bit of a fluke, but as we saw, Short Hop did post a bit of a tweet that said he was really not surprised by that at all, and really wasn't happy with his performance in the semifinals or the third place match. And so AOE Randoms both also definitely want to have a very nice showing for themselves, as a bit of a trade in the bot lane by Short Hop himself.
Yeah, there we go, looking toward this Aphelios Karma in the bot lane. We are anticipating that Chow and Lynx down on the bot side will have priority. The Karma looking to try and bully out the Nautilus in the early stages. The Aphelios can do a very similar thing to the Ezreal, unless Aphelios is tanking up on those Mystic shots, which really shouldn't be, let's be honest. We'll have to hold it though, because there's a gank on this top side.
Yeah, Josie already trying to go aggressive, not even close. First blood going over to Chim after Cozy goes for an aggressive push in the top side. Maddie was just not fast enough.
No, and you can see that the Lilia opting into a full clear. This is one of the perks of playing Lilia. Obviously clears a lot faster than the Xin Zhao here, level 4 to level 3 with double TPs from both of the top laners here. Could well see a fight around this Scuttle Crab, and then we look to priority in mid lane, and it's Strumpist who's there first.
Yeah, the mid laners both want to get involved in this as well, and this is exactly what I was expecting out of this game one. You have Maddie and Josie, two players who really enjoy skirmishing in the early game on these champions with a bit of different early game play styles. Lilia likes to clear, Xin Zhao likes to fight, and Josie obviously went for the fight. Maddie obviously is going for the clear with the potential for a double scuttle here. And it just shows a bit of a difference in play styles, but both of them definitely know what they want to do in the early game.
Yeah, and both of them sort of reinforcing that and playing to their early game strengths here with the Lilia, as you mentioned. Not only double scuttling here, but also potentially looking to try and take away a second Gromp spawn in the enemy's jungle. It looks like Mattie's just going to go for that reset, but honestly, so far ahead of this Xin Zhao, just in terms of the experience already, could very well be propelled to an early level 6. Looks to go back, picks up those Lucidity boots almost immediately, whereas Josie immediately back into that top lane. Cozy has no flash and could well go down once again.
Looks like he was a little bit impatient with waiting for that wave to crash in, and looks like he knows better than to continue to go forward. As meanwhile, trade in the bottom side, Lynx is actually getting low, going to be forced to flash. The Ignite is going to take the kill. The Arcane Shift forward from Short Hop will secure a 2v2 kill and make it a second, as Chow goes down as well. 2 for 0 for randoms in the bottom side. They're up 3-0.
So yes, we see Supernova able to establish priority, but it is not without a response coming through from the randoms down on the bot side. It creates danger, and now on this top side, a dived attempt.
Teleport coming in from Strumpist, going to try and deter the dive and maybe the potential for some re-engagement. They are going to miss the wave onto this top lane turret, but Strumpus has flash, wants to go forward, going to stun up Chim. Gonna force it to be flashed away, but Leo is here to join the party as well. It's a 2v3 now, but the health bars of randoms are considerably lower. Can
Sonic
Cozy
wave.
hit a sort of sonic wave onto the Jins now? He's gonna hit it, he's gonna take it, and that secures the kill. And all of a sudden, it's suddenly in Supernova's favor as Maddie and Chow are here on the top side. Cozy will go down, but it will be a trade for the top laners in return, and Leo will be forced to flash away. Overall, a 2-for-1 in favor of Supernova.
Okay, Matty, not done yet, though. Might look toward Leo, and Bowling Ball doesn't quite connect. Should be the disengage from this play here. Matty moves himself up all the way from his golems toward this play on the top side. So a big expenditure from the Lilia to stop the farming, essentially, to try and keep pace with the sort of tempo on this top side of the map. Overall, Cozy once again goes down, but this time finds himself a kill and an assist. Down level 4 to level 5 versus Chim, and that's a big wave being crashed underneath that Wukong's turret that he's going to be able to collect for himself up on that top side. So in terms of where we're looking to see an advantage for AOE, this top side is definitely one that we need to keep our eyes on. Chim is being given a lot of resources so far just off of the basis of that early game gank and the way in which Lee Sin has had to play out this early stage of the game. So expect to see Chim in a really decent spot versus this Lee Sin for a little bit of time at the very least.
Yeah, and even though that dive didn't work out essentially super well for AoE random, Chim is definitely happy with his situation, going to be able to push this wave in up about double of Cozy CS. But now as we head towards the bottom side, that 2v2 kill was happening so quickly that we didn't really have the time to talk about it. In the last best of 3 between Supernova and randoms, it was actually Lynx who had the advantage over Pockets and Short Hop, and now they're going to try and force some more dominance here as Maddie's going for a bit of a blue buff invade.
Level 6 Lilia, definitely not something that AoE appear to be too into fighting, and honestly we cannot blame them. That sleep, definitely a very valuable tool in these small skirmishes in and around the jungle. With a 5 camp lead so far, Matty, he is definitely a fair ways ahead of this Xin Zhao in terms of those items that he's been able to pick up for himself and in terms of the XP that he has been able to amass. Now looking to go even further, continue this counter jungle, looking for any small scraps of the jungle that he can take away from Josie. Definitely a very strong counter jungler here, and particularly with her smite backup and available Matty. Looking to try and make something happen with no camps on the top side either. It's not like he's spending these resources in the bot side for nothing. He's getting away with all of this just because he's been so prolific and so efficient with his pathing.
And it's been working out super well for him. While having a very similar amount of impact on the map as Josie, Maddie finds himself up about 20 CS, which is very impressive this early into the game. On this Lilia, has secured a steal already onto the enemy blue buff. A bit of a return might be happening as Chim is headed towards the enemy jungle as well. But now, right now, the gold is still slightly in random's favor due to that kills, but Cozy has to be a bit careful here. Does not know that there's another person in the area, and here comes Josie, going to use the safeguard out is Cozy. Chim going to use the Cyclone, but going to fail the dive there. And now Strumpus and Chow are going to run up and try to start this Rift Trail.
Forcing the flash out of the Lee Sin here, which limits his playmaking capabilities for the next 5 minutes. Supernova, though, committing their resources onto this top side of the map. Recognizing that they want to be going for these, fairly objective-oriented plays so far, but recognizing similarly they don't really have the greatest top playing strengths coming out. If we're looking at it from, how they're looking in this top lane, it's not too great. We've obviously got a lot of threats and a lot of punish potential on the Wukong right now, so they need to be very careful that the Wukong's not running away with the game. And to counter that, they're just going to send up multiple members to this top side and create a numbers disadvantage to alleviate that pressure.
Yeah, we were talking about how Chim typically does play towards that weak side, but now as Josie has gotten a lot of attention onto Cozy, just realized how hard that's going to be to stay in some future fights. But either way, it's allowed Chim to get a bit more of an advantage than we typically see out of him, even though he does have some very strong laning stats. But now, Strumpus gonna look for a bit of a dive here. Maddie's here as well. Swirl Seed will miss, but it doesn't really matter for now. Cozy is gonna get locked up by Josie, but he's too slowsy. Gonna get hit up by the Crescent Guard. Josie will go down and return to 1-for-1 on this tower.
Okay, so in the 2 versus 3 there, AoE do come away with the distinct advantage. Just the 1 kill for 1 right there. We don't see any plates go down in the mid lane. Would have maybe liked to see Leo try and break down one of those at the very least to try and get some gold in recompense there for the mid lane roam. Not going to be the case though, so we'll have to, just make do with that one as it is. Either way though, these teams definitely giving what for on this top side so far in the early game. We're getting a lot of brawling going on. 8 kills inside 10 minutes. It's not quite the 1 kill per minute, but we're seeing links here down on the bot side with Chow potentially looking for short hop. They do have Moonlight Vigil and Graviton. With short hop having double summoner spells, they don't feel too confident about trying to go for that one onto an Ezreal of all people.
Yeah, as much as Supernova want that revenge for the 2v2 kill, Ezreal with both sums, Arcane Shift, and already has some tankiness as well with that Phage in the inventory. Going to be pretty difficult to take down. So it's just going to be a bit more of that farming battle for now. But the gold has kind of shifted a bit more into Supernova's favor, now sitting only about 300 gold behind. Interesting thing to note is neither team has tried to go for a Dragon. Chow is going to be forced to flash out of the way, but the Graviton stun up from Lynx will prevent any sort of re-engage. Both junglers are towards this bottom side. Look at Maddie, 2 level lead, has the Rift Herald as well. He's doing some work here.
40 CS lead now between the junglers. He's doing great work now. The ulti bot lane.
Oh, they don't know that Maddie was here, but here come teleports as well. Chow gets bursted down instantly, and now Maddie might be in a bit of trouble. A double kill already for Short Hop, and now all of a sudden, everyone from randoms is here. It's going to be 3 people swooped in with the Emperor's Divide from Leo. A clean ace all of a sudden for AoE randoms. They get the fight that they want in the bottom side.
Oh, and clean is the word right there, Grapes. Beautiful double TP comes down from the randoms. They initiate the play, and that 2-level lead simply does not matter. Lilia just blown up there in the bot lane fight, able to find a one-man sleep, essentially nowhere near enough coming through from her. And there's 4 kills now on Short Up. He's able to pick himself up so much gold down on the bot side, now incredibly far ahead of his counterpart down there. Look at Lynx and his items. He's looking at Pickaxe. Not even got the Noon Quiver yet. And Ezreal, he's got a Divine Sunderer here, Grapes. That difference is so palpable down on this bot side. You'd typically expect to see Ezreal's left in a 1 versus 2 because they can sustain themselves. I wouldn't be surprised to see Short Up be able to take the 1v2 himself.
Yeah, and a lot of that fight came down to just the teleport timings and the ability that the solo laners of AoE randoms had to impact that bottom side of the map. Cozy did come in and have a decent amount of kicks in there, but Strumpus didn't even get the chance to take that Heartbreaker before he ended up falling. So it just shows the amount of impact that these teleports had. And while it looked like Supernova were the ones who tried to catch randoms off guard, it was randoms that really did that at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was the big TP swipe come through to get that one, and Chow just barely getting away with his life there on the Karma. One of the beauties of Karma is that ability to use the Mantra Inspire to either get you and your team away, or that Mantra Tether to get yourself a little bit of extra bait health back in your inventory. Be that as it may though, again, more priority force down, and now that we've seen this Ezreal come to these big item spikes, there's absolutely no chance for any fighting to come through for Supernova on this bot side. AoE randoms, with a commanding league so far, need to try and turn this not just into a turret, but hopefully some more as well across the rest of the map with this massive lead that they have in the early stages of the game.
Yeah, all of a sudden, it's a 3,000 gold lead for the side of AoE randoms, and if our producer could get a quick look at the gold, I'm pretty sure this bottom lane is just incredibly far ahead. Look at that, 2k gold, nearly taking up the entire gold lead is the side of Short Hop going up against his student here in Lynx, both from the University of Western Ontario. Bit of a fun story for you guys, but with the turret plate soon to expire, Short Hop is going to try and get as much value out of it as he can, and now Pocket's coming in with a Hex Flash, going to lock up Chow for a very long time, and Short Hop is now unstoppable.
This Ezreal can very easily start to take over this game right here with the turret plates falling as well. That first brick is going to go down despite Matty's efforts with the Herald. Not really going to amount to too much. There's a sleep though first, the Wukong.
They do win this World Seed, a nice kick back from Cozy, but Chim is still doing a decent amount of damage. Cozy's gonna have to be careful, and Chim gets the return kill, and with the Triumph proc, could potentially look for more. The Crushing Blow won't do enough to take down Maddie, and Strumpus is here as well, but the 1v3, getting a kill on that side is super crucial for Chim.
so strong on the Wukong as well. Divine Sunder in his inventory too, but bot lane.
Lynx is going aggressive, but he's going to have to be careful. Chao is going to go down once again. Josie is going to flash in for the kill. Not even worth that much gold. Is Chao going to land? That win becomes light to deter Lynx from going forward. And everything is going well for randoms on every side of the map.
Yeah, they're looking for these fights down in the bot lane, but they know that their jungler isn't there to support them, and they have no information on the Xin Zhao. Not only that, they're fighting into this Ezreal, and they still don't have the items. It's all very well and good that he hadn't gone back to base for a while, and that he had 2k still banked up in his inventory. Doesn't matter. He's got himself so much items already, just by that Divine Sunderer purchase coming through incredibly early. We're 15 minutes into this game, and he's got the Mana Moon as well as that Divine Sunderer. The 2-item spike for Ezreal. Not going to be its complete impact right here because the tier isn't fully stacked up. But Shorthop is in the best position to carry this game, and this was a bot lane that really wasn't supposed to have this agency so early on. It comes down to, once again, Poker's finding these hooks to net themselves the 2 versus 2 kill to enable the bot lane, to enable Shorthop. And we talked about that being the more sort of Chao style, where he's playing these more Enchanter styles to keep his AD carry ahead. But the best way to funnel your ADC is to get them kills in the laning phase.
Yeah, and instead it looks like Chao is funneling the kills to the wrong person here, sitting at 0-4 and 0, allowing for Shorthop to get such a massive lead in this bottom lane. As you said before, Rude, Lynx doesn't even have an item yet. The Mythic hasn't even been complete. Oh,
there we go.
Master Curse just comes through, but 2 items versus 1 still is not a good sign, and it looks like Maddie wants to go back in again onto Chim. Does have the Cyclone second charge available. Strompus will have to do a majority of the work here. The Swirl Seed will land again. Chimichanga is doing so much healing with that Divine Sunderer, but it doesn't matter. Strompus picks up his 2nd kill in a row onto Chim, and this is going to be the win condition. Can you get a reset onto Strompus in a fight, and can you get him to pop off in a 5v5?
Yeah, and you know what? Not a bad start there in the effort down on the bot side. Strompus decidedly stronger in the mid lane than Cozy up on the top side, right? 3-1 and 2 on this Viego, kind of the shining point here if you're looking from a Supernova perspective about their one real avenue into this game, if you had to say that there was one. And oh my word, these true shot garages are just they're chunking right now. But you know, Strompus probably the one avenue of approach for Supernova as they look for Leo.
DPs are coming in from Chim as well. Doesn't have the ultimate, but will it even matter? Strop is going to pick up the first kill. Can he get that possession? He does. And now that he's in Azir's body, going to be a little bit squishier as Josie takes him down. And now it's going to be randoms returning the favor. But look at that. The bot lane of Supernova has finally joined, and they're going to continue to push in and fire down randoms. It looked so good for AOE to start off, but it looks like Supernova are going to get an ace of their own.
And how... Okay, so they pick off Leo at the start of the fight, so the Azir really doesn't have too much impact. But Shorthop here, not quite finding the positioning, and we do see Link move up through the bot side of that river to come through, and we get that Kraken Slayer purchased, and all of a sudden, this Aphelios is ready to rumble here with the Karma at his side. Simply doesn't matter the deaths from previous times if they're able to find agency in these team fights, and that's exactly what they do. The classic Aphelios tale of red, white, do not fight comes to fruition, and with those 2 beautiful weapons, he's able to come away with that lead in the team fight. Dragon, however, you expect, going to go over to AOE. They're still in the driving seat with this game. They also have tempo advantage. Link has all of these items, all of this gold to spend, but hasn't yet been able to go back to base. So most likely Josie just going to collect this one very simply, very straightforward for the randoms here, and that should move them into a decent enough position. With 2 Drakes already secured, the Cloud Soul appears, and we are going to be seeing then that Cloud Dragon spawn in for a little bit longer. Maybe that movement speed and ability haste on your ultimates coming through for this game in particular.
Yeah, you know, the famous saying, die first so you get the tempo, and it looks like randoms is going to do just that, going up 2-0 in the Dragon score. But Rude, I knew that this series was going to be a banger. I knew it was going to be a close call between these 2 teams. But if you told me 19 minutes in, we would have had 2 aces already, and they would have been on both teams, would have been unbelievable. I would not have believed you one bit, but that's exactly the situation we're in right now. And it looks like Supernova don't want to go down without a fight. And now it looks like their strategy of continuing to pick members off is going to be working once again. The Emperor's Divide will knock back Chao, but not Cozy. He's going to pick it up with the Gora Drinker. Another kill goes Supernova's way.
And it's something so slight here, but the sidestep from Cozy there to pick up Leo, able to find the weaving himself around that wall to allow him to kick the Azir into his demise here. Really good pick off in the side lane, not without a response in the mid lane though. Matty hooked up.
Ooh. Beautiful hook by Pockets, but now the teleport is coming in from Cozy, and Supernova is here to dance. Joe's going to sweep back the rest of the team with the Crescent Guard, and look at all of the damage that he's denying with that ultimate. Shorthawk goes for the ultimate, but has to be careful because he's rooted up for a while. Chow will go down first, and now all of a sudden Strumpus isn't here, which means that Randoms are going to win the fight. But here comes the Heartbreaker. The resets have arrived. Strumpus has turned into Jin Zhao, going to be going in onto Shorthawk. Doesn't actually get the final proc of the ultimate to land. And now Lynx is in a bad spot, and so is Maddie. Rooted. The aces are just trading back and forth.
Oh my word, and this ace comes at a big price as well. AoE randoms find the fight. They're just running into short hop, unfortunately. Supernova not giving this Ezreal the respect he deserves. And with that, AoE gonna collect themselves a Baron. Ezreal and Azir, two champions that are very adept at taking down these big neutral objectives. Granted, the Azir might be a little bit behind the curve, but he is more than capable of using those Sand Soldiers to take down the Baron buff. Going to be collected by AoE here. Move themselves back into the base. Unfortunately, with Baron buff, the die for tempo strategy just a little bit weakened.
Yep, with everyone's dead, it was just too quick for Randoms to just pick up that Baron in 21 minutes. And now we see the return of aces, and it's a bit of a difference that each of these teams have in the fights that they are winning. It just basically determines the fight are how well some of the members of Supernova are able to play. Is Lynx able to show up? Is Strumpus able to get the resets off? And if they don't, Randoms basically wins. But the game is still not over yet. Even though the Baron buff has gone over, it's 4,000 gold lead only. So it's not over just yet. We still have a lot more game to play.
Yeah, we've seen aces go back and forth so far this game. It doesn't mean that either team has the decided advantage. You know, Short Hop has been performing very well on this Ezreal, as I'd sort of anticipated and as I'd love to see coming on through. But with this Baron, we're hoping that they're able to maybe make this game a little bit more one-sided. Hopefully, AoE can try and turn this game into a pretty snowball-oriented style. They don't really have to apply application side lanes, but they don't need it.
There's a Death Charge onto Chow, who will die once more in just a couple of seconds. Gonna just be auto to death by Chim, and now it's a 4v5 under the inhibitor tower for Supernova for a game that has been so bloody, and Supernova have gotten 12 kills. Game might be over pretty quick if things go right.
Yes, with one pickup, that should be a big fight. Oh my word, Lynx is down. Pokers is insane.
Already deleted. Another beautiful engage coming in from Pockets. A double kill coming in from Josie. And now the inhibitor tower will be under fire once again. It's the mid-jungle duo that retained from last split in Maddie and Strumpus that are going to have to defend the base. But maybe they won't. Resets are going to come in. Chim does have the teleport. Strumpus is going to try to use that fog to stay alive, but now the teleports are coming in. Chow has respawned, but what can a Karma do? The Mantra Q will try to clear out the wave, but 5 members strong from Randoms are going in onto the Nexus. A beautiful engage from Josie, but they will stun up Leo. Leo is going down rather quickly, but so is the Nexus of Supernova. 23 minutes in. Randoms take game 1.
Wow, the Nautilus pick, genuinely insane here for AoE randoms. Able to essentially win them this game off of those picks, off of the priority was established down in the bot lane. The lead that came through for the Ezreal so early on, definitely giving agency to Short Hop to be that big carry in the team fight. And a very well played game from start to finish here from AoE randoms. They get themselves the first game in this series and set themselves up to take it all with this 2-0. Really on the cards here after a dominant game number 1.
Well, you have to remember, a lot of things did go Supernova's way. They did have that one ace around that Rift Herald, and just
Very
given
true.
the amount of history these teams have together, Supernova took Randoms to 3 games in that last tournament in Challengers Uprising. So wouldn't be surprised if they try to readjust a little bit, maybe ban away that Ezreal from Short Hop. It's pretty good, and try and focus more around this mid lane. Strampus did have a very good game on the Viego, and if they can try and turn this around, can set up for a game 3 if possible.
That's definitely going to be their goal. They've obviously got a lot of adaptations to try and make during this draft, and I would be very happy to see Ezreal Nautilus banned away from the AoE random side. This is a bot lane that, yes, doesn't necessarily offer all that much levels 1 through 3, but as soon as we see those abilities and skills really start dialing up, we've seen the ability that Pocus and Short Hop do have down here to make plays happen. So get those removed, get those taken off the board, and maybe try and focus a little bit more on giving less advantages over in the early stages, right? Cozy dying to a level 3 gank versus a Zinzao feels a little bit predictable, and maybe just some light warding would have been able to prevent that. So, looking at these small little mistakes that you're not hoping to see replicated in games 2 and 3 potentially, that could definitely give Supernova a bit more of an edge.
Well, randoms looked extremely dominant in that game one, aside from a few missteps. But overall, if you're going to take a 23-minute victory any day of the week, it's up to Supernova to try and come back in this game two. We're going to take a short break, but don't go anywhere. Game two draft starts in just a bit.
My king, how was I supposed to know? Everyone will falter when you die. And as we speak, the army of our enemy is approaching our gates. We cannot fly. Behold, my son, there's a way to save you all. Don't you despair, don't be petrified. There is an armor, ancient magic made it strong, and you shall wear it when you face the fight. This harness will guide us through dangerous night. It humbles the foe with its grace. The thorn mail will help us breathe and survive. Our deadliest fate
Welcome back, everybody, to the Supernova stream. Supernova took a tough loss in about 23 minutes to AOE Randoms in Game 1 of the Risen Champions League main group stage. But Rude, I think in this situation, they got to try and just like reset their minds. That didn't happen. Got 2 games to win. And I think that that's the best mindset to go with how that game ended up.
Yeah, I think that there's a couple of just fundamental issues that we saw. Right, the level 3 gank, definitely not really going too well in their favor. 2v2 kills as well. We're not expecting to see all that much, and assuming that Supernova can right those wrongs, they did have some strong showings in the early stages. We did see Matty come away with a 2-level lead, and then outside of that ace in the bot lane where it really became non-influential. There was that opportunity that if this Lily was able to get a little bit further ahead, find those skirmishes as opposed to big out team fights, that Matty could have had a bit more agency in this game. That being said, Strompist also looked fairly comfortable on the Viego in the mid lane, was looking fairly dominant in the early stages. Coming into the team fights, again, a little bit lackluster on the sort of impact that he was able to have, but still looking strong, still showing off that there are these bright spots for Supernova, and that this isn't going to be a wash in the series by any means.
Yeah, definitely have a lot of fight in them. Just the game somehow ended at unfortunately 20 minutes. My camera is doing some wild things right now. We're gonna try to ignore that, but either way, going into the draft, both of the teams are starting to get ready, and it's going to be Supernova once again taking blue side. So it'll be interesting to see if any sort of differences begin to happen in the draft. Just considering what happened in that first game.
Yeah, trying to make a little bit of a difference here. See how that draft will vary from games 1 to game 2. Couple things that they could maybe look toward is, with that first pick coming on through, they will still have the opportunity to take a Karma again here if they want it. Also try and pick up maybe something like the Xin Zhao if they so desire to make that pick something that is, definitely inside their wheelhouse and keep that away from Josie. I don't necessarily think that the jungle matchup necessarily was the issue, so maybe they keep the Karma basis, but maybe look to send it to Strompist in the mid lane or up to Cozy on the top side to enable Chow to maybe play something else on that bot side, because so far it's looked very strong for AoE randoms. They picked out and sort of banned out more so than anything else the real key topics and key points that they needed to let themselves a really good advantage for the first game.
Yeah, and back down to that bottom lane, pockets on that Nautilus was just absolutely incredible. I mean, the Thresh was taken away from him in the first rotation of bans, but maybe some other attention will have to be taken into account there. And Short Hop as well on the Ezreal. This was the champion that he absolutely popped off against, had that incredible base defense in game 4 of the Cup quarterfinals, sending them into the semis against their main squad. And he had a very similar performance. The damage was basically identical in terms of how much he was able to put out. And Short Hop, once again, doing a lot of work down in the bottom lane, which is a bit of a differentiation of what we saw in the last time these two teams played. I think Lynx had a much better showing in that final, in the best of 3 that they played against each other.
Yeah, and it's good to see, right? This player development coming on out for AoE randoms, right? This little bit of difference that we weren't maybe anticipating, but is now a factor. Always love to see, this talent come up and show its skill, show its worth more so than anything else to give that little bit of an advantage in the AoE's bot lane here. And not to take away from Pocus because he definitely showed off pretty much as best as he could do on the Nautilus. So very well played from pretty much start to finish down on that bot lane. Obviously tanking a little bit early on just because he's playing Nautilus into Karma, but outside of that was able to come away with some really strong points, able to do some mad work in those team fights, finding multiple picks onto all of those carries. Those are time after time when he's able to find hooks under turrets here, something that Nautilus is a bit of a special at to make the fights go their favor, get those initiations underneath turrets, and put in a really good spot for the AoE random side. So, I mean, if I'm looking at the draft, I think Nautilus is something that they could definitely try and dissuade and try and take away here, get Pocus on something he's just a little bit less comfortable on.
Yeah, and Nautilus is another champion that Chow is also comfortable on. Played a lot of it during Cup. Obviously, as we said before, has started to shift a little bit away from that kind of play style. But would be interesting to see if they try and deny some of those picks from pockets by going towards these engaged supports once again. We're still about to get into the pro draft in just a little bit, but either way, a lot of kind of adjustments might have to be made by Supernova, especially. I want to talk about the jungle just for a little bit. Lilia on the side of Maddie did come up with that 2-level lead, but it wasn't enough to get the team any sort of advantage to take home a win.
No, and I think that with some of those sort of fundamentals tightened in on for Supernova, there's a definite possibility that Matty can have a bit of a jungle kingdom and go in and sort of show off a little bit more so with the Lilia and maybe make some impacts happen in terms of slowing the pace of the game down. If, when you're looking at these heavy farm styles, it's a slower paced game that definitely feels better for the Lilia. So they're going to have a bit of a better time if they're able to keep Josie a little bit down in the early stages. Obviously, Josie didn't have the best start in the longevity of the early game, but he was able to get leads in the right places. Right, Gank's top lane got first blood for Chim on the Wukong into Lee Sin matchup, put that lead into motion, and then there was a big 2 versus 3 on the top side, however you want to skew that one, that went in favor of the AOE randoms and that definitely punished Cozy once more. So, if we're looking at just the slight advantages that did come through for these teams, that top side was an area where Chim had absolute free reign over Cozy for pretty much the entirety of the game.
As we head into the picks and bans, interestingly enough, the Ezreal getting banned away by the side of randoms, and that leaves that Lulu open for Supernova to instantly lock in. Once again, this is a sort of a triple flex, could be played by any of them. I am expecting Chao to probably be the one to pick that one up, but Jin Zhao was a good champion for Josie, as you said earlier, Rude, and no surprise to see it get picked up again.
No, definitely not. Definitely not too surprised by that one at all. The Zinzao definitely, and the Nautilus as well, coming through a bit of a difference. Obviously, as you talked about, allowing this Lulu to come through. I mean, whether they were anticipating a first pick Ezreal or not, they are going to give Chow one of his champions that he's been fairly comfortable on as of late. So maybe something to keep their eye on. See what they pair
Oh.
with this Lulu as they lock in double dive here with Viego and the Hecarim. And if they lock in this Swain, honestly, this would be a really strong pickup. Swain is beautiful into dive champions because he just sits and doesn't have to find himself, trying to gain access to the backline because the front line rather just jump straight on into him. So, I want to quickly preface that. Obviously, getting baited by hovers a little bit here as the rest of AoE randoms just toggling through a couple of the picks that they could choose to go for.
And the Swain's still definitely a possibility as we head into the second phase of bans. Chimp's going to get his hands back onto that Wukong, but the Lulu pairing with the Hecarim is something I want to touch upon for just a brief moment while we have the time. Hecarim was obviously one of those champions that did fall a bit out of the meta with the recent nerfs to Turbo Chem Tank, but given the Divine Sunderer buffs and now having an Enchanter by his side, Hecarim has risen a bit more into the meta, and Maddie was a big fan of it back then and definitely is a big fan of it once again, picking it twice in the open qualifiers.
Yeah, the principle of Hecarim hasn't changed. You dive in on the enemy's AD carry, you do your damage, and you hope to get them taken down. And with a Lulu at your back here, you have a little bit more tankiness, a bit more durability as well. If she's able to play in that supportive role with you, obviously slight issues can arise when the Lulu is fairly separated from the Hecarim. The Hecarim can go deep diving and be a little bit separated, a bit disjointed from all of that support. So, range definitely something that Matty will need to keep in mind if he's hoping to be funneled by this Lulu heavily here. But obviously, we're expecting an AD carry to come through in this second round of picks for Supernova. The Aphelios still up and available, a great pairing with the Lulu as well. And of course, Supernova, they have themselves a bit of a choice to make here. They obviously want to get rid of Strompus Rise, definitely a fairly staple ban out against Supernova, but then they opt into the Cogmore as opposed to the Aphelios here. So I imagine at the very least that it's Aphelios, it's Jinx, it's some hyper carry to tie Supernova's composition together.
Azir once again being locked in from Leo, and I like this pickup again. Technically, you consider Azir getting countered by a lot of these assassins, and while Viego did have a decent time into it in the last game, champions like the Yone, that Strampus is rather comfortable on, will basically yield a full AD team composition for Supernova. So it will be rather difficult to try and counter this pick for Leo. We'll see what they decide to do. It is the
Oh.
Ashe. This is interesting. Ashe Lulu was a pick played in the first game of the open qualifiers for Supernova against Mercenaries. Ended up doing pretty well there. And this is just a rather oppressive bot lane that Supernova has picked up here. Going up against Paucus's Nautilus, they want to try and double down on pressuring them out of the lane.
Of course, that is a double-edged sword. Going for that laning capability
Ooh.
against a Nautilus, definitely something that that you can maybe try and take advantage of. But the second that Nautilus hooks you, it turns right back around. They lock in the Vigor, an old school counter here, as far back as when Jensen was Incarnation on
Yeah.
C9, looking back at it to counter out this Vigor, to play into, or to counter out this Azir rather, into the Vigor. He's unable to use that swoop to take himself out of the cage because it blocks all mobility spells, and particularly as well against these champions, there are no blinks on AoE randoms. They are all dashes that will all get stopped by Event Horizon. So Supernova setting themselves up with a very decent backline here to pump out DPS that has themselves a lot of safety with that innate sort of stamina and that innate build that the cage gives you. It's not without its difficulties. If they're able to get past the baby cage, if they're able to play around that cooldown effectively, then there's a very real possibility that this Vigor, this Ashe are going to be incredibly susceptible to going down. And particularly as well with Pocus on the Nautilus, you have to always fear for those hooks just sweeping out at you from every which way.
Yeah, and I forgot about that. The Azir typically gets countered by assassins, also gets countered by long range poke mages, and Veigar definitely one of those himself. Strumpus has played this pick in the past as well. Last split was praised for going Cosmic Drive first on Veigar, just given the amount of AP he's able to get generated with his Q. So we'll see if any of that interesting tech comes out here. But for a team comp that looks so dive heavy at the beginning for Supernova with the Viego and Hecarim, setting up a little bit more for a more well balanced style as Ash and Veigar come in with the final picks.
Yeah, they sort of pivot away from it a little bit, maybe respecting the red side Swain pick that could have very easily came through for AoE. They don't want to go too hard on that dive, and hoping at the very least that that's what they have in the back of their minds, because otherwise I'm simply just spewing. But with R5 on their side, Swain is a definite possibility. They had themselves plenty of physical damage locked in with Wukong Xin Zhao, so they can double dip on that magic damage coming through in those final couple of picks. And at the end of it, it's not what they choose to go for. So Supernova decide against it as well here with that full engage on the dive. If we see something along the lines of that Yone and then maybe a Samira or something like that locked on in down in the bot lane, then who knows how the rest of the draft might have panned out for the AoE randoms. Either way, it's a good adaptation to pivot back from Supernova and, just sort of double dip, not necessarily fully double down on the dive composition for Supernova. They still have a dive buddy for the Hecarim in the Viego, but they still have a backline as well to pump out damage.
Yeah, and for a little bit of a differentiation, it will be Cozy picking up the Viego in this game. Obviously, in that last game, went towards the side of Strumpus, but Viego, another pick that Cozy is rather comfortable on. Once again, fits that playstyle of him wanting to continuously fight in the lane, bruise, be a bit of a bruiser, and take a lot of these trades for himself. And with a lot of the regeneration that Viego gets in his kit, definitely not surprised to see that champion get picked up once again towards the top side. But once again, it's very similar in terms of that jungle matchup. You have another heavy farmer in the Hecarim on Maddie, while Jin Zhao, once again for Josie, is going to look for those early plays.
So, looking toward the Hecarim, there is a very real possibility he's actually able to find some ganks, though. Looking with the devastating charges, definitely something that you can expect to see from a Hecarim in the early stages. Obviously, the Xin Zhao going to be a little bit more prolific with those early on ganks, but it's not to say that Hecarim can't go for them himself. Obviously, looking at the lanes and how you're looking to try and gank them, Supernova a lot more susceptible to those ganks. The Vigar himself, innately immobile, relies very heavily on that Event Horizon to give himself safety. The Ashe Lulu bot lane as well, whilst they don't have themselves any innate mobility, do have flash, do have speed up, slows as well coming out of both of their kits, which makes it a little more difficult for them to be fully closed that gap on. But if a Nautilus hook hits, then it's absolutely anybody's game. And similarly on the top side as well with Viego, you do have a little bit of a stealth, a small mini dash as well to take yourself to some semblance of safety, but that's not without a lot of damage and a lot of pressure that can come through from a Xin Zhao Wukong.
Nearly an identical team composition that AoE randoms decided to bring out here. Ezreal for Varus, well, a little basically the same, but Supernova on the other side have kind of switched it up just a little bit, and they're gonna have to do that because down 0-1 in this best of three, if they falter here, their series is over. And so we're gonna take a short break. We'll see if Supernova can turn it back around and force a game three. Welcome back, everybody, to Summoner's Rift. We are here once again for Game 2 of the Risen Champions League group stage, Supernova versus AOE Randoms Rude. This is a bit of a scary game for Supernova. They're down 1-0 and are going to have to take a win here to have a chance at taking this series. And as you said before, every single game counts. Even getting that game score is going to be crucial for this team.
Yes, we're already Supernova, already down a game. Definitely not going to be setting themselves up for the best success in this group stage, but it's not without their chance to come back to start coming away with victories in games in series. Because at the end of the day, if you win all 3 of your series, be it 2-1 or 2-0, you do go through. At the end of the day, the wins are that most important stat that you're able to pick up for yourself. So hopefully they'll be able to turn this one back around and give us a bit of a series here this evening. All told, though, we are looking at an AOE random squad here in game number 2, which is vastly unchanged from game number 1. They've swapped out Ezreal for the Varus here down on the bot side, and with the Hail of Blades, we could still see this go either way. Chance that we see the lethality come on out, which is a bit more standard on the Varus, but as of late, have seen smatterings of this Gale Force or Kraken Slayer crit-focused Varus come through on the bot side of the map. With both junglers starting on the top side as well, Chow and Lynx maybe looking to get a little bit spicy.
Ooh, hook lands already, and with the Guardian popped immediately, right, even before the lane starts, will mean that Lynx and Chow will have to potentially be a bit more careful in this lane, a lane that they're supposed to dominate given the nature of the champions down in the bottom side. But yeah, if I were, I mean, I'm not the best bot lane player, to say the least, but if I was short hop this game, would probably be opting towards that lethality, maybe even picking up something like that Serpent's Fang down the line. But instead of bot side starts for both the junglers, they're going to be towards the top side, but that still means that the potential for a contest is there.
Yeah, and we're looking at these clears from the junglers right here. Once again, Josie opting into 3 camps pretty much immediately then, and now going for actually the Gromp third.
I really
off,
like
so
this.
Getting the XP from his Gromp here before he gets his blue buff, stalling that one out a little bit. Whereas Matty, so far at the very least, has gone for that full clear. All 3 topside camps and stopping off at the Raptors as well. Gives agency for Josie to maybe, just maybe, find himself an early on gank. Really good little vision toggle right there for us to find out and make us aware that there is a ward in that pit. So Josie operating on complete information. They know exactly where the Hecarim is, and they will be able to play accordingly to that. Josie, though, not going to look to take his route down to the bot side. Obviously, we did see that on the minimap, the Ashe actually able to take a roam sleep. Lynx here was able to move his way into the jungle, put a ward down inside the enemy, inside that Xin Zhao's brush right there, and they are going to be aware should he make his way down toward this bot side of the map.
Well, it looks like Josie did clear up the top side, the bottom side of his jungle, and now Pockets is going to go in, but he doesn't know yet that it's a 3v3. They're going to root up Chow for now, but here comes a devastating charge. Pockets is going to be the target because he's the lowest level, but here come teleports. It's going to be from Strompus. Can he get anything done? Being level 4, the flash forward will secure first blood for Maddie, and there's the cage that we were talking about. Pockets goes down as well. A much better start for Supernova in the bottom lane.
Really strong dominance coming through from Supernova down on that bot side. Strompus TP's down to ensure that it's a Supernova favored fight. And unfortunately, Poker's just a little bit too low on the levels there. The level 3 did come through for Chow and Lynx at just the right time to give them even more agency in that fight. The hook comes through, but unfortunately it really isn't enough, as Matty also able to find a level lead. But now Chim on this top side is looking fairly strong in these 1v1s.
There's the dash forward again. Chim getting the advantageous trade in the top lane. Wukong, obviously an incredibly strong dueler, especially against AD champions given the passive. Cozy will just try to regen up given his passive and some of the potions that he has taken as well, but might not have the time to regen very quickly because Josie is here to try and potentially look around, try to scout out some of the Supernova members. Will catch out too as Chow and Maddie are headed towards the top side for a room.
Well, they could well find it, to be honest. Chim, with the clone, though, able to back himself away safely. Going to be really not too worried about this one just yet, but with this repath coming through, I may have just have to mince my words right here.
Yeah, Maddie is going in again. Chim was not expecting the return gank. Gonna try to bait out the W, but the AoE coming out from the W from Maddie will make sure that the kill goes over as he picks up his second of the game.
The classic S key to bait from Chim on the top side. Unfortunately unable to successfully do so there. Really good pickup once again. Supernova definitely showing off here in game number 2. They've got themselves a really strong early game, and this is what we were looking to see from them here in games 1. But now Matty here charging through, looking for Josie.
Oh, barely misses out on the knockback. Cage from Strampus will also not hit anybody. Meanwhile, whoa, Chim. Coming in with TP, I guess. But both summoners look to have been burned by the Wukong, but you're going to take a solo kill and that wave under your tower. So don't know exactly how that happened, but you know, it's all good. It's all good.
You know, coming into this, my queries and qualms were with the top side of AOE. I was very confident that Pocus and Lynx would have been able, and Short Hop, excuse me, would be able to go toe-to-toe down on the bot side with Supernova. But Chim putting me to rest here. He is absolutely asserting himself on this top side, not just in the first game, but the second one as well, where he's being ganked and still able to find the solo kill. Odds are that it was off the back of Cozy not finding that reset just yet, and Chim able to find the kill in exchange for that. But still, finding that kill in the 1 versus 1 just goes to show you quite how prevalent this guy can be up on that top side, and definitely a force to be reckoned with going throughout this game, because that's just the lead that Supernova would have looked to try and take back for themselves. They'd had a pretty rough early game for the most part, but Chim finding that little kill right there definitely posed them with a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, this is the second game in a row where Chim on this Wukong has had a very good showing against Cozy, and these are two players that we had our eyes on before the series started as being these quote-unquote weak side players, don't get as much jungle attention but still are able to duel a lot in lane. And so far, with a decent amount of jungle attention being given to some of them by their junglers, it's still Chim at the end of the day that is coming out on top, getting these solo kills and getting these leads for the team.
Much needed leads as well with Supernova on the back of Matty's really strong Hecarim performance here in this early game. Definitely finding themselves in a decent enough position, so something to keep our eyes on is whether Matty can continue this snowball or whether it's going to be a bit of a flash in the pan, a little bit of an early dominance into some subsiding Hecarim pressure. Level 6 has come through for him once again, though, again ahead of the Xin Zhao in terms of experience, just barely. As we do see the Crescent Guard now ready and available for Josie. The hook at the right time.
The blind hook from Pocus will take down Link with the Chain of Corruption combo, and Chow unfortunately back just a half second too early to save his teammate. Cozy comes in with a teleport, but it was way too late, and what a beautiful engage from Pocus, getting another kill on the bottom side for AOE.
How does this man do it? Okay, we'll have to hold it as there's a bit of an attempt on the bot side here.
Yeah, ultimate's available for both Cozy and Maddie, but that's just 2 flashes burned, and it looks like the Brandon's bot lane will get out with their lives.
A lot of time wasted there. Cozy trying his darndest to make a play on the bot side of the map. Gives Chim a lot of free time on this top side. This is going to be a load of experience that gets denied to the turret. Maybe even a plate as well going into Chim's back pocket. That crushing blow going to be tearing through the turret here. Rift Herald as well going to go in the favor of AOE here, and off the back of what was a really strong opening for Supernova, the preceding sort of 3 to 4 minutes really haven't gone their way. Pocus with the miracle hook, there's no other way of putting it, finding the perfect timing on Chow's base and still having Lynx in the lane comes up exactly as necessary. They're able to use the Chain of Corruption as well to find Short Hop with a free kill for himself. And we can see from the items as well, this is going to be that poke lethality Varus style that we're more accustomed to seeing here, with that tier, with that Serrated Dirk in the inventory. Not expecting to see this differentiate into anything other than a Prowler's Claw into Mana Moon build path for Short Hop on this Varus.
3-2 in the kill score, 9 minutes into the game. Maddie is going to start up the first dragon, which will be that Cloud. So no Cloud Soul for game 2, like we did see in game 1. And it looks like it's going to go over to Supernova, relatively uncontested. And the gold lead is about 800 in favor of Supernova. Not as much as you would have wanted coming out of such a great early start from Maddie. But still, doing good things for them in a better spot than they were in last game.
But it all turned around, if you'll recall, out of the back of one bot lane fight, right? Where we got several TPs down into the bot lane, and we just saw AoE come away with it. It was looking fairly similar for Supernova. You know, they had all of these bright spots. Oh, just barely goes wide. But Josie's on a pink ward here. They don't see him.
Yeah, that's the wild growth already onto Lynx, but teleports are coming in. It's going to be Strompus coming through, and Josie and Leo as well. Maddie is here, but Josie gets instantly deleted with the Primordial Burst. Strompus is so low, but he will get saved by the fear coming in from Maddie. Pockets is getting so low, but will escape with his life. Now a 3 versus 4, Strompus will take that recall as both of the top laners are still up in the top side. Arrow barely misses from Short Hop. Very good reaction time coming out of the Veigar. And another kill going over to Supernova in the bottom lane, but the fight might not be over just yet. Oh, maybe it will.
Okay, yeah, both teams looking to try and take their lead here. Looks like Short Hop and Lynx both going to stick around just to keep on farming up those minions. But my oh my, the TP's come through at the back of a bot lane fight once again. We were maybe expecting to see the game break open a little bit more off the back of that, but it is just Supernova finding themselves a quick kill onto the Xin Zhao here. Josie not quite having the impact on this Xin Zhao that he was able to in game number 1 here. A really good flash from Strompus actually puts himself inside that Crescent Guard and allows for that Primordial Burst to get the kill. And just as you touched on in the fight right there, the fear from Matty giving so much time and just at the perfect moment as well. 3-man fear meant that nobody from AOE could finish off that Veigar. Required just one auto attack to take down Strompus after he'd been insect back into the turret as well. How he's able to live there is absolutely incredible. And keeping himself at that perfect game record for now, at the very least. And looking to continue this game going forward. Looks like Josie now in charge, trying to put this Herald down on the top side to maybe break open Chim, the sort of bright spot for Supernova here. 10 CS up with that solo kill he was able to amass a little bit earlier. Funneling even more gold into him, definitely not a bad idea.
Because he does have to be careful, but the rest of his team is here to try and look for some sort of fight. Strompus is really strong, and that's the power. Ooh, arrow goes wide by just a little bit, but the power of this Veigar, he's able to take anybody and just immediately burst him down. We saw Josie get instantaneously deleted in that fight, even with the ultimate up, just because of the amount of burst damage, the amount of execute potential that Strompus has with the ultimate. So always a factor to watch out for. But the Shrelius has been popping in the middle lane. Leo is in a bit of danger. He's going to try and just walk around the cage and make sure he doesn't step into the gates there. But 12 minutes into the game, and Maddie and Chow are going to continue to their jungle support proximity that we've seen so much in this game too.
And something neat about the Veigar as well that you will see hopefully exhibited by Strompus is that when you get these... Oh, actually, never mind. Okay.
Oh,
well,
3-man Emperor's Divide, but it's not even going to matter because Strompus instantly bursts down Leo. That's the one shot we were talking about. Looks like Maddie's going to get out with his life. The Onslaught of Shadows taking him to safety. Everyone is just so low, but Pockets is here. He's going to land the depth charge onto the tankiest member, which is Strompus for now. Josie is going in forward. The W barely misses, but the arrow from Short Hop will shut down the carry for Supernova. At the end of the day, both mid laners go down in a 1-for-1.
And plates going over here to AOE, so they're the ones that are going to come out ahead on the play. They burn a lot of summoner spells, a lot of ultis, a lot of cooldowns from Supernova's members as well. Onslaught of Shadows, the flash as well from Chow, the wild growth to keep himself from dying to the turret off the back of that initial dive right there. And getting that lead definitely going to be stymied a little bit here. Even in gold across all matters right here with all of those plates going over to the Varus. Effectively 4 kills in total going to the Varus. And you can see now that despite those 3 assists that the Ashe has got, it's a little bit of a gold lead between those AD carries. 600 in favour of the Varus. And the difference maker really here is going to be in that mid lane and in that jungle. You know, 600 gold separating the Matty Strompus duo, respectively, versus Josie and Leo. So, you know, if we're looking at mid jungle 2v2s expected to go Supernova's way, as soon as those top laners and bot laners get involved, it is absolutely anybody's game.
But since Chim is ahead by about 700 gold, the gold is literally dead even right now. 14 minutes into the game, the turret plates have just fallen, so no potential for any additional money to get into anybody's pocket at this point. Dragon is spawning right about now. It will be that Ocean Dragon, which means we will get either Mountain or Infernal or the Soul, and it looks like Supernova are going to be the ones to try and take it down. Maddie, Cozy, and Chow are all around, and since there's only one member from randoms in the area, it'll be a quick 2-0 Dragon lead for Supernova.
Mountain's going to rise here, a little bit of an altering to the terrain. It's going to alleviate a little bit of the pressure, and now looking to maybe try and steal away this blue buff. Ooh. Oh, Short Hop. Simply too good. Simply too good.
It was a fadeaway. He didn't even look. Knew was his.
Doesn't need to.
Saw the
Doesn't need
blue
to.
under
He just
him.
knows,
like,
man.
That's it.
Cool guys, they do not be looking at those blue buff steals, and obviously on that top side as well. Not looking at the turret falling, as Leo now in trouble.
Oh, looks like a very similar situation, but the only difference this time is Leo is still alive, but not for long. Maddie picks up his third kill, but now here are the reinforcements for random. Strop is going to get hit up by the Cyclone and taken down, and Chow goes down as well. Maddie going to get hit up by the Dredge Line. Chain of Corruption just to boot, and randoms turn that fight around. A bit of an overextension from Supernova in that middle lane. They'll go down 3 for 1.
Yep, Supernova, they played the playbook out once, and fortunately enough for them, they were able to find the kill, but the second they go for it once more, AOE are wise to it. They have learned, they have studied for this test, and they come out with a flying pass right here, you know. Outside of losing Leo, they were to pick up 3 kills for themselves, pick up the turret as well. That's a big swing for AOE here, you know. Previous to that fight, we were talking about how even the gold was. It's now ballooned into 2,000 gold lead for AOE, and Short Hop here is looking very, very dominant. 3 kills to 0 deaths right here. Has got himself that complete Prowler's Claw, and he's not based in a while. This guy's gonna have so much gold in his inventory to spend on that Mana Moon upgrade, and hopefully start to continue this terror of the Supernova squad.
And Rude, you were talking about studying for tests just for a little bit. I want to go back to this point once again because I find it so interesting. Both of these 80 carries from the University of Western Ontario, and Short Hop is actually Lynx's coach, giving up his starting position for this younger player. But right now, he's getting the better of his student for in this situation. And if you study the test, you might do well. But if you know all the answers, not gonna be a little bit better. But looks like Short Hop might have not found the answer to that test. The arrow coming through from Lynx will secure a kill onto his coach, and now Josie has to be a bit careful under the turret as 5 members of Supernova are strong into the mid lane once again.
And finally we get to see this pick potential of Supernova really sort of honed in on here. They've got themselves the Event Horizon, they have themselves the Enchanted Crystal Arrow as well. One of the best pick tools in League of Legends, an absolutely global utilization from Lynx right there to find the opening into the mid lane. And Short Hop didn't have flash at the time, wasn't able to get away from all of that danger that they did put down, and really good to see as well Chow able to find those shields onto Strumpist, meaning that he was tanking up the turret, but it didn't really feel like it. You know, he left that turret and he'd still got like 75% of his health pool, and after having one shot a Varus, that is definitely a prized possession to be able to come away from that position in quite such a remarkable health pool. I want to point out as well, as you touched on a little bit briefly in the draft here, we do have Strumpist's fabled Cosmic Drive Rush on the Vigar, so going to be getting himself a little bit more move speed, a little bit more ability haste, and a little bit more ability power as well.
Yeah, just a really smart itemization choice from Strumpist. Knowing that the Q will continue to give him that AP continuously for the rest of the game, but especially early on, allows him to reach that 160 AP threshold, and now he's well above it, sitting almost at 300 AP. A lot of people talk about how mages don't really get that much AP. Doesn't apply to Veigar. He has so much of it in his kit, and won't be able to use that AP to defend this bottom lane turret, though, as Rift Herald is going to knock it down. And that's another thing that we have to talk about in this game. 3-1 in towers in favor of AoE randoms. And look at Oleon. Another fight's going really quickly. Maddie is going to get locked up immediately by the chains and get taken down first. But now teleport coming in from Strumpist, but it might have been a bit over aggressive. Cozy is here. Can he get a single reset? Going to use the Heartbreaker out to safety, and it's going to get swooped right back into Leo. And that is another kill going over as Strumpist falls as well. It's 3-0 for AoE randoms as they win a fight in the mid lane.
And AoE just consistently finding these fights in really good positions. Chim does a beautiful job of zoning out the bot lane. Lynx and Chow never really have any agency in that fight, never able to get really anything going. Wukong stands in the backline, he goes in to be a distraction, and there's simply no damage coming out of Lynx onto this Wukong. You can see he was absolutely full health at the back end of this fight, able to deal with that bot lane fairly easily, and that's just not the case on the backside of it for Supernova. You know, Strumpist, Matty, and Cozy unable to find that access to Short Hop, to Leo. Leo even flash dashing in to find the swoop onto Cozy in the end of that fight. Just goes to show quite how free these guys in the backline are, and just how well Pocus and Josie are finding space for their carries.
Yeah, and all of a sudden it's randoms once again with a bit of a gold lead, sitting at about 3,000. The one thing, though, is that Supernova have that 2-0 Dragon advantage, and they're going to head right back to the pit because the mountain has spawned. Maddie
No
and
50-50s
Jersey both
here.
have the smites available, but the dragon is still at about 5,000 HP, not at the point where they can really try and steal it just yet. You gotta watch out for Chim, though. Has a beautiful flank position if Supernova decide to go too far. The event horizon will be dodged away from, but does create a good amount of zone potential. Chim's gonna go in, gonna hit the knockup, and look at the chains as well. Cozy is gonna get ticked down dangerously low, and he will fall as well. As a beautiful swoop in from Leo to take down Lynx. 3 go down immediately, and it might be a 4th. As Pockets is looking with the depth charge. Dragon will get secured by AoE random. The hook will miss for the first time in what seems like a while, but he gets him into the range for the knockup. Leo can't actually walk forward due to that nicely timed cage from Strampus, but another team fight win coming out from AoE randoms, and once again, 20 minutes in, they're headed back to the Baron.
And quite rightly so here, AoE just consistently finding these fights. Complacency from Supernova. They just sit and get collapsed upon. A beautiful flash in from Short Hop to initiate from one side, whilst Chim goes in from the other. They fail to collapse here, Supernova. They fail to find the fight, and that pincer maneuver just worked out all too well. Leo as well swooping over, collecting members that tried to make their way out to safety, only to put them right back on top of the second Wukong Cyclone. A really well played team fight from start to end from AoE, amounts to 3 kills and this Baron. And if we saw, as we mentioned from game number 1, if that was anything to go off of, Pocus finds a hook, and as soon as they get any small slither of an advantage, AoE just run away with the game.
Yeah, I mean, the early game was a bit different from game 1, but now looking at this game 2, it's the same situation. AoE randoms getting that Baron off of a teamfight win right at the 20-minute mark and are looking poised to 2-0 Supernova to start off Risen. Would be a really strong showing from them, wanting to prove that their Challenger's Uprising finish was not any sort of fluke. They deserve to be up there. They deserve to be considered with the rest of the Titans in semi-pro, and it's looking a whole lot like that is going to be the case.
Yeah, you know, pretty staple 2-0, right? You know, and it's consistently finding team fights in a better spot than Supernova are able to really deal with here. Playing their team fight composition out just a little bit better appears to be pretty much all that is separating them between in these fights here and in these games, because Supernova were able to get themselves a nice little lead in the early stages, but they've not been able to translate that into anything else. And the random squad definitely coming away with a lot of damage as well onto Strumpus, as he barely survives that.
And it didn't even look like there was much committed from AoE randoms. They just like kind of threw some stuff at him, and all of a sudden, boom, Strampus is nearly dead. And also soon to be dead is that mid lane inner turret, as once more AoE randoms will push in onto this blue side middle inhibitor turret. Cozy is looking for a bit of a flank, does have that miss to bail him for just a second, and looks like the signal to go is immediately now. Onslaught of Shadows will stun up a couple, but Josie is still so tanky onto this front line. Gonna use the Crescent Guard to sweep away the rest of the team and try to disengage for a little bit. A lot of resources were used by Supernova, and randoms get out just fine.
Him was bot lane that entire time. That was a 5 versus 4 that Supernova engaged that didn't get them anything. They were the ones that backed off in the end of it as well. Short Hop still full HP, still pumping out these piercing arrows. Lynx looking to tank one up, and this is now a secondary engage.
Oh, 2-man stun coming out from Strampus, and that could be a good turnaround. Leo's immediately dead, and Cozy can try and get some resets. The Cyclone will try and lock up the Viego. He will get taken down. A double kill already for Chim. And now all of a sudden, it's once again a numbers advantage coming over to AoE randoms. It looks so good for Supernova to start off, but they go down 2 for 1 in the trade.
That is going to be the mid lane inhibitor as well, going down here for AoE. They get that prize for themselves. Supernova with their backs against the wall, their backs against this series here. Not going to be too easy for them to come back into this one now. AoE this time round, they don't close out the game with the Baron buff, but they get themselves a good tool to get themselves into that position. Hopefully here, they can maybe go back to base, spend that gold, get themselves those secondary core items finished on up, where we're looking across on the other side here. Supernova still working on mythics, still working on their second and third items to be finished. Outside of Lynx here, down on the bot side, who has himself the PD as well as that Kraken Slayer, nobody's really matching the pace of AoE so far in this game. They've got 2 items across every single one of their carries, and in the exception of Chim and Short Hop, they've got 3 for themselves.
Yeah, and while the game isn't over at this point, Rude, The gold lead, I think, at this point right now is larger than it was at the end of game one. So just shows kind of what position AoE Randoms is in at this stage of the game. It's 25 minutes in. The second Mountain Dragon is spawning in less than a minute, which is why you see AoE Randoms trying to clear out some vision pockets, going aggressive because he knows he's tanky enough to hold off the rest of Supernova until the rest of his team arrives. Going to get some beautiful vision into this bottom side jungle and try and potentially even look for a play. Pockets does have the Hex Flash available. He's going to use it, but actually does miss it over the wall. Chain of Corruption will whiff as well. And that's actually a crucial cooldown that Short Hop will not have for a potential Dragon engagement. Still think that Supernova are pretty weak, so I wouldn't be surprised if to see them just give it up anyway.
Yeah, second Mountain Drake then, most likely going to go over to the AoE squad. Good to see that we've got Strompist on the top side, split pushing just a little bit to give a little bit of gold back to the team here, get them some sort of economy back in their back pockets here. But the poke coming through from Short Hop, definitely very dominant right now in these fights, and with the Dragon already spawned up, pretty much taken down already by Josie. Going to be calling in for Leo as well. For AoE, their next port of call going to be going right back to that Baron buff, spawning in about 1 minute and 5 seconds here as they move their way back in toward that top side of the jungle. The Drake taken down, they have nothing to do down on this bot side. They're going to do their camps as well just before they head on up to the top side to make sure that they're maximizing the income.
And income maximization they are definitely doing. It's about 600,500 gold lead in favor of AoE randoms. As you said, Root, that second Baron will be coming up very shortly. And this is a situation that Supernova have to try and answer here. Do you even fight this? Because you're down a lot of gold, but if you get the right fight, can be possible. This could be the start of it. Josie getting taken down to about half HP. Still is rather tanky with the Divine Thunder. Just still has a lot of defensive capability, a lot of healing. So it looks like that health won't be super impactful just yet. Pocket's going to clear out some vision, and it looks like all is well and dandy for AoE randoms.
For the time being, and they're going to be relying fairly heavily on Short Hop here to put some poke down. Leo as well to an extent, but when you're playing the Azir, you never really want to use your Q in the face of an engager, simply because you rely so heavily on that. But here goes TP flank, here goes the Zinzao.
Randoms wants to go now, and that's Chim knocking up 4! Blink's already down, and it looks like the rest will follow. Cozy has not gotten a reset all game, and it doesn't look like he will in this series. Maddie goes down as well, 3 for 0. Not even going to need the Baron is AoE randoms as they're going to march down mid.
That could well be the game here, Grapes. It's a beautiful flank TP that comes through from Chim. You talked about them doing their warding, getting rid of some vision here. They forget about the bot side, Drake lingering vision, and Chim with that beautiful flank angle gets so many members in that knock-up. Nexus turrets go begging, but Strompus is here to defend.
It's Chow and Strompus 2v5. The next wave of supers is coming in, but the death timers are coming up rather shortly. It looks like Random's are going to go now. They get the stun on to Chow, take him down. Nexus exposed, but here comes Lynx, here comes Maddie. Can they do anything? The Nexus is getting hit continuously, and that is the game. It was such a close defense from Supernova, but it does not matter. AoE randoms make themselves known. They tell Supernova, hey, that 2-1, that was a fluke. We're going to 2-0 you in this one, and they take the first win of Risen Champs.
Wow, pretty dominant stuff coming out from AoE randoms here, you know, coming off the back of Chim's really dominant top side, coming off the back of Short Hop's really strong play down on the bot side here, showing off Ezreal, showing off Varus as well, and Pocus's Nautilus doesn't need any introduction at this point. He's been whipping it out in series time after time. And I'm going to start saying it now, team.